Corporate finance practice problem using OneNote. Calculate common stock price with the assumption that there's no growth. In other words, stable dividends and stable value. Get ready. It's time to take your chance with corporate finance. Here we are in OneNote. If you have access to OneNote and would like to follow along, you're not required to, but if would like to, we're in the icon on the left-hand side in the practice problems down in the 1037 common stock price, no growth assumed tab. Also note that when using OneNote, look at the immersive reader. Many of our presentations will be mirrored in the text area down below, having the same number and name, the text area having transcripts that can be translated into multiple different languages and either listened to or read in those languages, thereby being a good complement to the presentations. Closing the tab up top, we're going to have our information that we will then go through the calculation in the blue area. So we have the annual cash dividend is going to be the $10.20. Notice now that we're talking about common stock. In prior presentations, we looked at the preferred stock. The preferred stock is a little bit easier in some ways because you're thinking about basically the return in essence being the dividend, the amount of dividend that you're going to be getting. Whereas on the common stock, you typically have a more complicated type of situation or set of assumptions that you need to be assuming because you have the dividends and you also have then the valuation of the stock itself. As owners of the stock with regards to common stock, then the valuation being important in our calculation with regards to rate of return and stock price and so on. When you're talking about the preferred stock, then you're typically thinking mainly about the dividend that will be involved. Also note, with the common stock, there could be more fluctuation, of course, with the dividends than with the preferred stock. And we also could kind of think of some kind of correlations oftentimes with the decision-making processes of the corporation with regards to the increase of the dividends as it relates to the increase or growth of the company. In other words, as the company grows and does better, they may, increase their dividends in a similar fashion as well, depending on the objectives of the company. So here we're going to make our kind of more basic type of assumptions, something that will be similar to the preferred stock, and then we'll switch them up as we move forward. So we got the dividend's going to be the 10.20. So we plan is to keep this dividend for some time into the future. So the idea here is the dividend's not going to change. It's the dividend is where it is at. If that is the situation, we might be able to derive from that too that basically the company itself is possibly they peaked out, possibly they're a large company that's basically doing well and they're not looking for massive growth in the future, but they're looking to basically stay stable in the future. One indication or sign of that may be that they're saying, hey, we're not going to cut the dividend, but we're going to keep the dividend basically remaining the same here. So we're going to assume a type of stock that's going to have the dividends that are staying the same and that basically the growth then is going to basically stay constant as well. So then we're looking for the required rate of return then is for the common stockholders, the 18%. We're saying that's going to be the market rate. In those conditions then, why would we purchase this stock? Well, we're looking for our return. The return would basically be the dividend that we're looking to in that type of stock, in that type of scenario. So if I was to calculate the price given those conditions, we would say the annual dividend is going to be the 10.20. We're going to pick up the required rate of return, 18%. And if we divide that out, we get the 56.67 that would be the price. So in other words, taking the 10.2 divided by the 0.18 required rate of return, we get the 56.66. Or in other words, if I was to then take the price and then consider the required rate of return, I'll do that down here. We're going to say the price that we just calculated, the 56.67. We would be willing to pay that if we get a required rate of return on the market, 18%, the 56.67 times the 18% being the $10.20. That's the amount of the dividend that we're having. So note that the return we're looking at is related to the dividend given the fact that we're assuming that the dividend's going to be constant. The dividend's going to be constant in part due to we have a stock that we're thinking most likely stable stock, not looking for massive growth. They're a mature type of company. They're not looking to decline at all. Growth basically staying stable, dividends staying stable. Therefore, we're putting our money in order to get a return on it with regards to the dividends. And so that would be a more straightforward calculation, similar to what we would do with the preferred stock. And then in future presentations, we'll make some adjustments to these assumptions as we go.